all set with that. Thanks a lot. All set? The point that I was trying to make is, if you have one sign per candidate, John Doe is running for president, and you have John Doe for president, but in your next sign, you have the vice president, Jane Smith. John Doe, Jane Smith. Is that prohibited? Because John Doe's name's already used. So then it becomes the enforcement action. How do you enforce that? Because you have his name here, but you know what? You have
Both names.
both names. So I see it becoming an enforcement problem with delineating, you know, what's fair with one sign.
Well, as the enforcement, I think on political signs, we would have to give discretion to free speech. So if, some towns, they run whole slates rather than individual candidates. I think you can, if, say vote Democratic, vote Republican, I would, in a doubt like that, where there's a tied candidate, I would just say that you just let it go. According to, if you're doing individual signs, it's not, you have to, the magnitude of what you're dealing with here, I think you do have to give discretion on any sort of political expression for free speech. And against, that if tie goes to the runner type of thing. So in this case, if it's John Doe and Jane, whatever, Smith, yeah.
Good people.
They are good people, I'll vote for them. That you do allow that, because
See, I think we said the second sign is actually Mary's sign, and she's sharing it with the other guy.
well,
But then again, because it's not black and white, it's interpretational. And anytime it's interpretational, you may interpret it different than I interpret it. And to me, it seems, I think that even trying to regulate that becomes a problem.
but you have other conditions. Let's say you have a candidate, okay, running, and then there's a group of people that are against a particular issue that this candidate or elected official has been involved in, healthcare, okay? So you have somebody vote for John Smith, and we oppose Jane Doe's healthcare issue. And again, they're related. But I again, just going back to the whole free speech issue, that you would, if somebody's gonna clutter up their yard with a bunch of related signs, my inclination would be to err on the side of letting them clutter it up than to
Right.
try to make a decision
Right.
as to whether these two signs are linked.
Right. Honestly, my bigger concern in all of this sign thing is the health and safety and placement of these signs. That they are, one, not impeding the
But
flow of
that's,
traffic.
that's
and-
covered in a different
No, I understand it, but that's my
section, and
bigger-
they can't,
my
they
bigger-
can't do that.
Right.
which would
Yeah,
be-
and I think that's a separate
it's a
separate
separate
issue.
issue.
Yeah,
Martin, I'd like to ask I'm sorry, Brian, are you done? I
yes,
didn't
sir.
mean to interrupt. I'd like to ask a question of John for clarification. No, it's not gonna hurt, John. How do we, when you talked about having one sign per person, are you differentiating?
No, I'm saying that what we should do is to eliminate the use of, eliminate political signs as a class completely, but have an overall, no sign in Woodbury shall be neon, lit, backlit,
Well, that
made out
actually
of
is in,
candles or marzipan, whatever we like, and no property shall have more than X square feet on it, period. Which you're gonna have an overall limit, it's an overall limit for everybody.
Would that be like you could maybe classify non-commercial versus commercial signs?
As long as the non-commercial sign was the same as or greater than the commercial signs,
What about grandfathering? Because now you have a problem.
I recommend it.
We have a, let's take political signs, cause that's the topic here, and then I'm going into clarification. Chuck, I'm thinking, I wanna hear where you are in this too. We have the, Ron, is it the Curtis House that has is that the largest sign?
No, there's a
Billboard.
billboard up by the chef.
Okay, how big is the billboard sign? 50 feet?
Yeah, it's pretty good size.
Can we say for discussion 50 feet? Then are we limiting the size of a sign to the largest one that's allowed now? So so political signs have to be allowed to 50 feet. Is that what?
You're right about grandfathering, because that doesn't meet the current regulations. So
Okay,
it's not a
so
standard.
here's the
that you can
here's the question, and I just, this is where I'm trying to understand where John's coming from. If we're gonna limit that, do we limit off of that with free speech? Because we're just talking about free speech right now. Are we touching the largest sign allowed currently in town, or are we doing it based upon moving forward? Because that's two totally different issues, and I'm just curious if, you know, where you might be on that.
I hadn't addressed the grandfathering issue in my own mind, but I would be inclined to leave a regulation as of now, just like any other regulation, and if there is a grandfathered sign larger than the current regulations, then that particular sign is of course grandfathered in. But I don't think any other signs are. That's and I think that we should also be very careful when we're discussing the difference between electoral signs and political signs. Because if you start pushing regulations which say one per candidate, what about when I want to put up a sign with the Constitution of the United States on it? How many candidates is that, please? There is more to political signs than just the usual 2-year abuse fest.
I got a mixed response to the question of repealing subsection I. I think I got repeal.
I can change, I'm
Yes
for
or no?
repeal,
Repeal?
repeal altogether.
Bob, are you with us?
I said leave it.
Leave it on the fence?
Yeah, I'm leaning more now to appeal it.
To repeal it?
Yeah, really,
I just wanna ask,
Can you just, for once, just go with the program, asking people?
No, I
whether
can't, 'cause-
repeal or not?
when you say no, are you saying no to the proposed reg?
I'm saying repeal, the question on the
Repeal the whole
floor is repeal the whole
Okay,
thing.
thank you. I vote repeal.
And Jerry? Yeah, okay. Sense of the commission is
I
that
vote repeal.
we change, yeah, I thought so. I think you said that. That we
It-
take the subsection I and repeal it in its entirety.
So the whole subsection I
Gone.
is gone.
no
Is
political
that,
sign.
okay,
Great.
okay.